Happy New Year, everybody. This is Rolls Royce. My trading friends call me Rolls. And what I wanted to do today was talk about the SPY setup that I saw on Friday. To me, it looked like the boys at Mission Control were setting up to run SPY up. The trade looked pretty obvious. The risk reward looked great. And I posted on Twitter that, oh man, this was a piece of cake. Everybody should should have taken this, and it was easy. Then I got some feedback that maybe it wasn't so obvious, and I thought it would be a good idea to run through my thinking process, talk about my levels, and answer a bunch of questions that I've been getting. Before we get started, I wanted to tell you how to find me on social media. I am at Brian Balance on Twitter. I've got a YouTube channel that I plan on putting a lot more videos out there this year. I've got one video out there where I just recorded when I was analyzing the Darkpool data so that you could see that. I noticed that people had about enough attention to watch half of it, so I'm going to try to keep this down to that level today. The reason I started a Substack was that I would put random posts on Twitter. Oh, look at this Apple level, look at this SPY level. And then every once in a while, I would put a longer thread about what I was thinking. People asked me for more. People wanted access to my system that I've written. They wanted more analysis. They wanted something that was regular and routine. So what I decided to do was start a Substack. In the Substack, I give out SPY analysis for free every day. Some people only want SPY, and 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 that's fine. I give that out, and then I'll put in there from time to time, like on Thursday night, that hey, you really need the rest of this to see the whole picture. And I charge $12 to see everything. I've got in the paid version, I've got QQQ analysis. It's another one of my favorites. Sometimes they're the boys at Mission Control, which is what I call the institutions. Sometimes they'll trade heavy on QQQ in certain situations. Sometimes they'll do SPY. Sometimes they do other things. I also put in there large large trades. These are the mostly the mega caps. The mega caps need to be invested for the market to go up. They really control the market. I put unusual prints, ones that are outside the 30-day moving average. A while back I saw defense contractors going crazy on the dark pools, and then the things went up like 15%. So that was interesting. Then I put the macro trend, the big trade trend, and also a daily summary of what I think is going on. So that's $12. People tell me I'm crazy all the time for only charging $12, that you can pay for, sometimes 10 years of the Substack with one intraday trade. I'm not looking to become a billionaire. What I want is I've got expenses, I got data plans and things I got to pay for. It takes me about an hour to do these write-ups every day. So my whole belief is that I give to the world gives back to me, and that's just the way things work. So if you're interested in more in looking at this, you'll know in a month if it's useful. $12. The other question I get is, hey, can I get your data? And it's not really a commercial system that I've written. It's kind of hard to use, and it's not easy things to click on. I'm members on both of these sites that you see. VolumeLeaders.com it has trades. It's an economical system. I know the guy who runs it. It's really nice, and I use it for things that I don't collect. I don't collect everything. He has a ton of stuff out there. He gives away some ETFs for free. If you just want SPY, he gives that away for free. The other one I've got here is flowtrade.com. I'm a member there. Some of the most brilliant traders I know hang out there. They've got block data, they've got algo flow, and a trading community. They're outstanding there. Sometimes on my charts you'll see custom indicators. Those are most of the time flow trade indicators. So let's take a quick look at the Substack here. So this is where you land, and then it wants you to sign up for a free thing. If you don't want to do that, just hit no thanks. Then you pop in here. There's an education tab. They made it real easy to put tabs up here now. That used to be really hard, but you can click on this, and then I've written some free content here that talks about. I've got a few trades in here. I've got some Q&A. How do I get started? What does my system do? The another couple educational ones. How to read my spreadsheets is right there. And also I wrote about the boys at Mission Control. One of the guys I used to follow called him that, and he's since retired from doing analysis. So I'm keeping that alive. His name is Bill Albert. He's a very interesting person. Let's take a look at the raw data that my system spits out, and this is the raw data. You'll see volume here. I look for really big stuff and price, and this is dollars and millions. Then I've got another piece that aggregates this. So they might have a trade that's broken up into 10 different trades at the same level. My system adds all of those up. And then what I do every day is I manually look at this, put it in my charts by hand, and then I give it to everybody. I only know a handful of people that are good at this. It's not a skill that's widely known. This is hard data to mine. There's not a lot of good systems out there to pull Darkpool data. I used one for a while, and it made me so mad that I had a trade go sideways because they didn't give me all the data. So I got really mad, and I was also really bored during COVID, and so I wrote my own system that I tweak from time to time to pull this data. Now let's get in and talk a little bit about the trade on Friday. Let's take a look at this. So SPY is right here, and you see they've been just chopping everybody up for the longest time. I was joking on Thursday that if you were trying to get 2 points on ES, it was a great day to try to get 2 points, but it wasn't a good day to get any more than that. It was it was terrible. They've been chopping everybody up. This green line is a 4-hour Keltner channel. These are the ones I really like to watch. The Keltner channel will give you support and it will give you resistance. And if you notice up here, I thought, well, why in the heck are they doing this? They're not bringing it back down to the Keltner. Why not? And then I started looking, and I thought, well, look at that. There's a trend line that's acting as support. So they've launched up over the Keltner. Now they're using a trend line. Now another thing, piece of advice. This is one of my New Year's resolutions. What you want to do is you want to trade the news. You don't want the news to trade you. That's what the boys at Mission Control want to do. They want to trade you. They want to stop you out, longs and shorts. They want to jerk you around and shake you out so that they can move the market the way that they want to. Well, look at what happens here. So here we go. We're watching Thursday here. And they're taking it back down to the trend line here. And this is the close on Thursday. And then guess what? They take it and they end it over the Darkpool data. I started getting real excited. So I bought a couple contracts here, and then I gave up on it because they were just letting it run up and it stalled, and so I got out. Then you wake up the next day and look, oh, they go down and tap the trend line. They tap it again, and oh boy, they shot it under the trend line. So anybody that was watching this, they're looking at this going, uh-oh, it's the end of the world. I just read on Twitter, I read 1,000 posts on Twitter. It's the end of the world, 2008 style, and we're all going away. Well, what really happens on a news day like this? Everybody's everybody's scared to death. The order book is empty. The boys at Mission Control can do whatever they want to. Now, what do they do? Was it the end of the world? No, it wasn't the end of the world. I didn't expect it to be the end of the world, and I'll explain that in a little bit. So what do they do? They jerk you around, they shake you out, and then they go on and do what they were going to do anyway, and they pretend like nothing happened. Yeah, they do what they were going to do anyway. Well, how do you know what they were going to do? That gets to my levels, and I give these out. I give these out in Substack. So what do? When I see uh, when I see volume come in at the same level a lot, I put them on my chart. I manually add them up. I look at my system. I track these things. People ask me, well, are they buy or sell? And on a day like Friday, it doesn't really matter if it's a buy or sell. I'll tell you when it matters, and I'll tell you what I do. One of the traders I follow and I have a lot of respect for, Robert Balan, he talks about crests and he talks about troughs. A crest is up in the highs, a trough is down at the lows. When you see them putting in trades at the lows over and over and over again, do you think they're selling the lows? Sometimes they short cover the lows. They don't usually sell the lows. They usually buy low and sell high. That's how they make money. My view is the dark pools also control the market. They know the market's going to go up or they know the market's going to go down. So what you'll see them build a base down here. You'll see them start putting trades in. So let's say there's $10 billion down here and we start floating up. And then there's another 10 billion right here. And then they'll come down to here and then you'll see another 5 million and then all of a sudden you start adding it up and you say, well, golly, there's 50 billion, $60 billion worth of SPY on this base. And then we're floating up over that. Well, they don't build a base and just tank it and go down under it and go down forever. They don't do that. They build a base, they buy tranches of SPY, then they float the market up to a certain level where they've got their target, and then you'll see trades at the highs. So in this situation, if I've got $60 billion of SPY down at the lows, and then we're at SPY 400 now, and I see a $10 billion day and we curl over, and then the algos jump it right back up. I see $10 billion and they curl it over, and then they curl it over, and they're like, oh, wait, I've got more to sell. I need to juice the algos up again. So they'll juice it up, and maybe you even get a higher high, and everyone goes nuts. Because, oh, there's a higher high. And then you see another 10 billion and it curls over, and 10 billion and it curls over. A dark pool dude is going to start saying, I don't like this. I'm gonna trail up my longs. or trail up my stops or take some profits. You'll see me say that in my Substack. I am taking profits right here. I've seen $50 billion up here. I'm taking profits. I'm pushing my stops up, and I'm taking profits with the dark pools. And then what I'll do is I'll wait for them to go down and wait till I see buying again. So that's the way it works as far as levels. That's more of an investor kind of concept. For intraday, it doesn't matter if it doesn't matter if this is a buy or a sell. The For intraday, now if we're up at 400, it does. If we're up at 400 and there's $12 billion print up there, and we start banging on it like this and then leaving it, then it matters. Down here at the bottom, it really doesn't matter so much. This is support and resistance, just like a Keltner channel, just like a Bollinger Band. Fibs can do the same thing. It's like a wall that where you make a stand. You make your stand there. That's a wall, and if it leaves that wall the wrong way, then you want to bail. If it leaves the right way, then you want to stay in. All right, let's see what they did here. Remember, we're all scared. There's this news. There's 100,000 posts on Twitter that it's the end of the world. I think that there were only a couple of people that didn't think it was the end of the world. I didn't think it was the end of the world. And there's a guy named TikTok. He's a pretty smart guy too. So and I like to read his stuff. He didn't think it was the end of the world. He didn't think it was the end of the world either. I wanted to watch how we behaved on this print. That's going to tell me what they do is going to tell me what direction I want to trade. Now look at this. Here we are going under the trend line, scaring everybody. And then we know 8:30 is the non-farm payrolls, and we're getting real close. And then kablamo, look at that. I said in my Substack, this went up faster than a cowboy can draw his pistol. When I was a kid, there were cowboy movies and cowboy shows, and I liked cowboys when I was a kid. I also liked astronauts. Astronauts were big. So you'll see reference to 1980s culture in my Substack and my Twitter posts, and you'll see things relative to U.S. culture. I know that I've got some followers outside the U.S. too, so I try to explain that sometimes. So this thing just goes through all my levels, and it goes way up here, and then everybody said, "Oh, they went off and left me." I didn't think they did. Look at that. You get this big wick, and then it comes back down. And here we go. Now we're going up to the moon, right? I didn't think that we were going up to the moon yet. What I wanted them to do, what I was looking for, and what I was expecting was, I was either expecting them to come down and hit this Keltner, this 4-hour Keltner channel, and they didn't do that. But what I wanted them to do was I wanted them to retrace this, come down, and kiss this $380.10. So let's see what they did. And people are buying up here, by the way. And then we go back up, and then are the good old days back? No, they're not back yet. And so we get to the open. And here's the open, 9:30. Well, guess what? The boys at Mission Control can't do a whole lot in the pre-market and the aftermarket. There's not a lot of liquidity. You can't put $1 billion trade in right here. There's just not enough shares sitting out there. They like to trade at the open. You'll hear people talk about gaps. Oh, they're filling the gap. Well, if the boys at Mission Control want to buy something, they'll come back down or go back up and fill the gap because they can't really trade much in the pre-market. Then we're going up again, and I thought, now this is where I start getting interested here. We're cruising on down, and then what did they do? They spiked it down. And this is a 5-minute Keltner channel here. Okay, now I get really interested. See this? We got a wick here. We've got another wick here. We've got a little teeny bit of support on 5-minute Keltner. And now we're kind of floating up to the print. This is where I started clicking on futures. I like futures because I can get in and out quick. And all I got to worry about is margin. I don't need things to settle. I can just get in and out, in and out, in and out. I can, if this thing went south on me, I just bail and take my losses. If not, I just ride the thing. Now look what they do. Start going up. Now, so what was I doing here? So I bought some contracts here, and then I started seeing resistance up here. Now there's a couple of ways you can play this. If you're doing ES and you've got some big money on the line, you might want to take profits when it starts losing momentum. If you've got a bunch of MES contracts, you can do more tranching in and out. So maybe up here you see that you got a little support here. Maybe you add right there. Maybe you see it going up. If you got a bunch of MES, you might say, "Oh, I'm gonna sell some right here because we're getting some resistance, and I'll leave a runner just to see where it goes with a break-even stop." There's a lot of different things that you can do. I can tell you though, right about here, I was thinking I was the richest dude in the world and getting very greedy. When I get really greedy, it's a sign for me to exit. This is like 30 minutes. I was up enough. I took my profits, and then I didn't have to worry about trading the rest of the day. This was a nice run up, and so I got out. If you really wanted to, you could. And see, I thought, now I feel like a super genius right here, but then look what happens. This thing just keeps, they turn the sell algos off, it just keeps going up forever. And so this is what I did on Friday. This is normal stuff for them to do. You'll see them get extended. You want it to not, you don't really want to buy it on the first tap a lot of times. You want it to go under it and hang out on it for a minute and then watch where it leads in a direction. I talked to one of my followers the other day, and what he'll do sometimes is sometimes he buys both directions and just watches to see where it leads. What I like to do is I like to see it bang around there and make a guess on that. I thought they were taking the market up because they had a ton of money down here, and so I got long right here. That was my bias. If it went down here, I would have bailed. Going up, I want to take profits up in here. So anyway, that is the trading strategy that I used for Friday. Hope this helps. If you have questions, put comments on the YouTube channel. Do something on Twitter, make a comment on my post on Twitter, or make comments in the Substack. I try to answer all of those. Thanks a lot, and everybody have a great weekend.